so continuing, you can see where we left off the Levi's after they have been edited. Here is the male Levi's. You can see the same thing, logo, stitching gone. Here's the female high-end jeans. That's then with the stitching gone. The funny thing about these is that I actually had to Photoshop a white shirt onto the woman because apparently all expensive jean brands, and I did look at multiple ones, the models never have shirts on. So I guess that's something for a different study to test if showing a female's midriff actually boosts sales of your jeans. A little future thought there. Here's the male. The male did have his shirt on because apparently that's not a factor. This one isn't as apparent, but you can see the stitching does disappear. So now we can move on and talk about the data that I actually received from the study. Here you have some basic statistics. I'm not going to talk about all of them, don't worry. I'm just going to give you guys the gist. Overall, I had a pretty good response rate from females. I had 17 in the stimuli category and 27 in the non-stimulus category. For males, it wasn't so great. I only had 4 in the stimuli and 10 in the non-stimuli, so just know that when I talk about my male data from this point on, it's not really statistically relevant. I just kept it in because I thought that it was a bit more interesting. It could actually later on, lead to a further study that might have significant results. Of course, the downside to testing a college population, especially about genes, is that you're primarily only going to get female respondents. If you've looked around in any psych class, you'll know that it's a high percentage of females. But in the end, I guess females are the population who would be more interested in what the study was actually trying to test, so it could have turned out for the best. One thing to note, and I don't have it on here, but how I did ask people how important or knowledgeable they were about fashion, there really was no significant difference between male and female. I actually had hypothesized that there would be, that females would be more fashion-oriented, but in the end it all averaged out to about 3 on the rating scale of 1 to 5. So moving on to the graphs, which are a bit easier on the eyes. We can see here, this is the graph based on the low-end ratings. With this graph, there's not too much of a difference. You can see that they're all within pretty close ratings of each other. Females tended to rate the cheaper jeans higher than males. I don't believe it was significant, though. The one interesting thing about this graph is actually that they tended to rate the jeans a little bit higher when the stimulus of the price and brand name was there, which I thought was kind of contradictory to what I thought would happen. I figured that if you saw the jeans that were around, $13, you would actually rate them lower than when it's ambiguous. But so that was something that was pretty interesting. And you'll notice that that effect was consistent over the male and female population, so it wasn't something that was just a fluke. So if we move on to the second graph, this one talks about the mid-range, the Levi's, and this one's a bit more interesting. But you will also have to click on the third video because I'm going to run out of time soon. And that'll be the final video.